Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we're looking at Merck manual, and we want to understand how mercury causes poisoning in animals and what comes from that. Now you want to keep your pets, your farm animals, and the animals in your vicinity safe. Then you need to understand what this heavy metal is capable of and where it's coming from. So poisoning associated with various forms of mercury has declined in recent years, and chronic exposure in fish and wildlife species associated with the bioaccumulation of mercury in the environment remains a problem. In domestic animal species, clinical signs of nervous, gastrointestinal, respiratory, and reproductive system involvement are typically influenced by form, dose, duration of exposure. Diagnosis may be confirmed on the basis of clinical picture, histopathological findings, and the results of analysis and tissue analysis for mercury concentration. So historically, mercury poisoning was a common occurrence in both humans and animals. The replacement of mercury products used for medicinal, agricultural, and industrial purposes with alternatives has had a significant decline in acute chronic poisoning cases. That being said, is it still an issue? Although many wildlife species remain at risk, predator species considered to be near the top of the food chain, such as fish, seals, polar bears, and various bird species, bioaccumulate considerable amounts of mercury from dietary sources. And you might hear, well, don't eat tuna all the time. Don't eat swordfish all the time. And why would they say that? Because you bioaccumulate a lot of mercury from the fish and the swordfish that are in bodies of water with methyl mercury that accumulate that. Commercial fish food products such as tuna have been associated with chronic poisoning in humans and cats. So if you want to keep your pets safe, specifically your cats, it's a good idea to understand what is this coming from. Are the bodies of water around you? Do they have high levels of mercury? Is the tuna that you're getting, does that have high levels of mercury? And mercury exists in a variety of chemical forms, including elemental mercury, thermometers, light bulbs, inorganic mercurial salts, batteries and latex paints, and organic mercury as well. Fossil fuels represent an important environmental source of mercury. In the environment, inorganic forms of mercury are converted to methyl mercury. And that's what's in the water supply. That's what's affecting the fish. Now that's going to vary from water supply to water supply, and that's why it's a good idea to periodically test your water supply to see how much mercury, how much methyl mercury is in those samples. And under anaerobic conditions in the sediment of most bodies of water, similar conversion may also occur in the body. And the physical, chemical, and kinetic properties of the various forms of mercury play an important role influencing the clinical manifestations, the extent of the lesions in the tissue distribution of mercury, and the organic forms of mercury, primarily methyl mercury, are lipid soluble as well as absorbed orally. And that's how they're getting into the fish. And then this is also how they're getting into animals and humans. Now, what have they found with the mercury poisoning in animals? Well, the inhalation of corrosive elemental mercury vapors at high concentrations produces severe dyspnea and compromised respiratory function that are usually fatal. So this can be detrimental for your animals or for your pets, and neurological manifestations may eventually develop at lower levels of exposure. And due to its corrosive nature, inorganic mercury produces primarily gastrointestinal signs including anorexia, stomatitis, and paralysis, vomiting, diarrhea, and pain, as well as shock, dyspnea, and dehydration. So these are a lot of bad conditions that can happen to your animals. So one thing you can do is limit the amount of tuna or the amount of fish you're eating on a consistent basis if you are consuming that. And then the next best thing to do is to have your water periodically tested for high amounts of mercury to make sure that your animals are safe, because as we saw, sometimes when the symptoms manifest, it's too late. That's why it's always a good idea to keep your pets, your animals safe by periodically testing your water for mercury.